Good afternoon, colleagues, friends, and fellow travelers on Africa's journey of visibility and inclusion. I'm Cornelius Williams, and it's a real pleasure to be a moderator today. I've spent much of my career working across Africa and globally to strengthen child protection, but more especially child registration systems. So today's discussion is not just professional, it's personal to me. I want to welcome you warmly to this commemorative webinar, marking the 8th Africa's Civil Registration and Vital Statistics Day. This is just not another event. It's a chance to reflect together on a journey that began 15 years ago when African ministers launched API CRVS with a clear and urgent goal to make everyone visible in Africa. The vision that still resonates. But visibility is not just about registering a birth. It means recording every vital moment in the human journey. Birth, where legal identity begins. Marriage, where families are formed and rights are shared. Divorce, where protection and dignity must be held. And more important, where we're all going to end, death, where identity must be retired, data must be counted, and dignity must be respected. This is the life cycle approach to legal identity and civil registration. We meet today under the vision laid out by the African Union, whose endorsement of Africa's CRVS Day and leadership of the API CRVS program have anchored the continent's collective commitment to legal identity and inclusion. With support from UNICA and many others, we came together not just as professionals, but Africans. So today we want to reflect, to reason, and to carry forward a shared agenda that is deeply rooted and urgently relevant. Today is not a lecture. This is a conversation rooted in our oral tradition and supported by modern tools like Zoom and PowerPoint. There is a Ghanaian proverb that says, the child who's not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. Let us ensure that no child, no life is left unregistered, unrecognized, or uncounted because legal identity is not about numbers, it's about belonging to your people. We have a rich panel of speakers and practitioners today. I'll guide us through a dialogue that spans global, regional, and country leadership. For all participants, please note there are a French and English translation through a button that is located on the right-hand side of the screen. Let's begin the conversation. And to open the conversations today, I'm honored to welcome Gilles. Gilles, I've known you for years, okay, right? I've admired your leadership. As a global leader, you've helped to shape Africa's path towards inclusive and accountable system. As UNICEF Regional Director for Western Central Africa, Gilles, you've provided strategical oversight across 24 countries, advancing child-centered systems, from legal identity and education to social protection and governance. Of course, you are my fellow West African, a national of Benin. His leadership spans local implementation, global decision-making, regional transformation at this pivotal moment in Africa's digital future. Earlier this year, Jails, actually, we who follow you on LinkedIn saw you in Liberia, where you helped launch the Back to My Classroom campaign, an initiative that links school enrollment and birth registration to secure legal identity and expand access to education. Your picture holding that birth certificate, Jill, was trending in the birth registration and civil registration community, right? You and the representative in Liberia. Your leadership is critical at this point, okay? CRVS must be embedded in service delivery. So today you're not joining us simply as a UN official, Jill. You are a continental voice. You are a champion of the system that are inclusive, digital, and grounded in civil registration as a foundational infrastructure. Jill, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Cornelius. And it's very good to see you around, helping us to facilitate this extremely important meeting. And Cornelius, I know you are really talking from your heart. It's not about profession, it's not about leadership, but it's really combining all this. And I'm very glad to see you around. I'm glad that we can continue benefiting from you because we need that. So thank you so much. And thank you for your introduction. Very warm welcome also to other participants in this extremely important meeting. I see that African Union is around. I also see that our colleagues from ECA are also around. And good morning to you, William. I'm sure you will come in a moment. So today, we gather to celebrate Africa CRVS Day, a day when our continent speaks with one voice to affirm that every life matters, every person counts, and every identity must be recognized. This commitment lies at the heart of Agenda 2063, which envisions an Africa where no one is left behind and where every citizen can fully participate in our continent development journey. This vision is rooted in a simple truth. Africa cannot achieve its aspirations if its people, especially children, remain uncounted and invisible. Civil registration is the mechanism that makes the invisible visible. It tells us who our people are, where they are, and what they need. Without it, we know government are forced to operate in the dark. Policies miss their mark, resources are misdirected, and millions remain outside the reach of protection and opportunity. Civil registration, particularly birth registration, is the first official recognition of a person's existence by the states. It is the gateway to all other fundamental rights and human and civil rights, from childhood to adulthood, including the right to health, education, social protection, and full participation in society, all underpinned by the principle of inclusion, which Cornelius referred to several times in his introductory speech. When a child birth is not registered, we know that child begins life at a disadvantage and remains at risk of exploitation, of exclusion, and of being left behind, especially in the emergency context. Civil registration is also a core pillar of national statistical systems. It delivers the real-time continuous population data that no survey can match. In a context where funding for traditional data collection, such as census and large-scale surveys, is shrinking, civil registration stands out as the most cost-effective, sustainable source of administrative population data, essential for evidence-based policy making and long-term planning. Despite this critical importance, we face a stark reality. According to UNICEF 2025 reports, as of 2024, only 51% of children under 5 in sub-Saharan Africa had their birth registered, representing the largest share of unregistered children worldwide. In West and Central Africa region, over 41 million children remain unregistered and without a birth certificate. These numbers are not just statistics. They represent lives in the shadows, children at risk of exclusion, and rights violation. The urgency to act cannot be overstated. As we commemorate this day, we must ask, what can Africa do in the next 5 years to turn this around and put the continent firmly on track to achieve the targets of the 2030 agenda, particularly the goal of legal identity for all under SDG 16.9. The good news is progress is not just possible, it is already happening. As the custodian agency for SDGs target 16.9, UNICEF not only tracks progress, but also advocates for evidence-based strategies that drive change. Today we launch the Africa Birth Registration Policy Brief, a comprehensive synthesis of evidence on birth registration across sub-Saharan Africa, drawing on evaluations conducted between 2018 and 2024 in 23 different countries. This analysis identifies what drives progress, where barriers persist, and offer clear, actionable recommendations to accelerate the path towards universal birth registration. The evidence is clear. Progress is happening already. Progress is possible and it can be achieved in a very short time. Take Botswana, for example. According to Botswana Vital Statistics reports in 2011, 70% of birth of children under 1 were registered. By 2017, this had increased sharply to 94%. And today, Botswana stands at universal registration, achieved through decentralized services and the integration of registration services into health facilities where most births occur. In the United Republic of Tanzania, between 2016 and 2022, birth registration coverage more than doubled, rising from 26% in 2016 to over 60% in 2022. This progress is critically linked to the decentralization of civil registration services. Similarly, birth registration coverage in United Republic of Tanzania, coverage more than double between those 2 years, 16 and 22, increasing from 26% to over 60%. This remarkable progress is also critically linked to the decentralization of civil registration services. Let's move now to the west part of Africa. And let's go to Sierra Leone. I'm sure it speaks to Cornelis. In 2008, fewer than 50% of children aged below 1 were registered. By 2019, coverage has increased to 90%, propelled by strongly political will and leadership, strong legal and institutional reform, and enabling interoperability between civil registration and health system. Liberia, where I was 3 weeks ago, shows a similar story of rapid transformation. In 2013, only 25% of children under 5 years old were registered, roughly 1 in every 4. By 2019, 2020, coverage has increased to about 66%, yet significant efforts are still needed to close the remaining identity gap. These examples and many others across sub-Saharan Africa show that when Africa acts boldly and applies the right strategies, progress for children can be achieved in record time. These topics, the topics of this year, Africa CRVS Day, remind us that civil registration is the foundation for Africa's digital future. Without it, digital identity system and public infrastructure rest on shaky ground. With it, we can build a system that are strong, inclusive, but also resilient. So what must we do? UNICEF will support government, is supporting already, but will continue supporting government to champion birth registration as the cornerstone of legal identity. Secure high-level political leadership so that CRVS is recognized and positioned as the foundation for e-governance and digital public infrastructure, with birth registration at its core. Invest in decentralized, interoperable, and digital systems that are accessible at the lowest level and work for every child. Align our efforts, avoid fragmentation, and place CRVS at the center of Africa's development and financing priority. This is not just a technical agenda, it is a moral one. It is about making every person visible. It is about ensuring that no child, no matter where they are born, is left behind. Colleagues and friends, we have the evidence. We have the solutions. What we need now is the will to lead, to invest, and to deliver. Let us make this Africa CRVS Day the moment we recommit to count every birth, to protect every life, to build the Africa we want. Thank you, and thank you very much. I cannot hear you, Cornelis.
You reminded us of the challenge. You told us that there is a solution, right? And you proved that there's the evidence. And we have the solution. What you're now challenging us with is the will for the investment. Thank you very much, Giles. Thank you. Thank you. I'm now pleased to welcome William, a leading architect of Africa's continental agenda on legal identity, Chief Demographic and Social Statistic as Chief of Demographic and Social Statistic at UNICA. William, I know you were just jumping from one workshop to the other. Okay, right. You're very a man in high demand. William leads the coordination of API CRVS, the African Union flagship program to reform and integrate CRVS system across the continent. He is a Zimbabwean demographer with deep roots in national system and regional governance. He also steers Africa implementation of the UN legal identity agenda, linking CRVS, population register, digital identity. He's a busy man. He joins us not only as a technical expert, but as a continental strategist, guiding how African institutions embedded CRVS at the center of digital transformation, inclusive governance, and data sovereignty. And Gilles mentioned one thing. In this period of shrinking resources for investment in data, William plays a central role because he covers the census, he covers the other statistics, and William is going to talk to us about legal identity and its place in the continent. William, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Cornelius. Actually, where you ended the whole of this week, we actually have been looking at how we can use CRVS for register-based censuses. So the link between CRVS and censuses is becoming more apparent. To my opening remarks, let me acknowledge the Regional Director of UNICEF West and Central Africa. Let me also ride on existing protocols because I'm not sure who is in the room, but I heard AUC is there. Let me recognize them. Distinguished colleagues, representatives of governments, civil society, and development partners, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to welcome you all to this important gathering to commemorate the 8th Africa CRVS Day. I think I should actually add in the caveat that I have seen like CRVS days from 2019 up to 2025. And this is a momentous one. It is occurring in a period of financial uncertainty. It's also occurring a couple of years after the COVID, but where we had made commitments that the lessons we had learned from COVID were going to steer us in a very different direction in terms of how we build resilient systems. So today, across the continent, we join voices and hearts to reaffirm our commitment, our shared commitment to ending the scandal of invisibility by ensuring that every person in Africa is registered, is counted, and is recognized in front of the law. This year's theme, civil registration as the foundation for digital public infrastructure and digital legal identities, speaks to both the legacy of our work and the future which we are building. It reminds us that civil registration is not simply a bureaucratic function. When you get into these civil registration offices, you actually see people writing birth certificates, stamping, and whatever. It's not that. It goes beyond that. It is the gateway to rights. Those people who are actually, writing these birth certificates are actually giving those children a gateway to rights, to services, and to dignity. Because no person would want to exist without a name, without an identity. So birth certificates in that manner offers dignity. Without these documents, children can be denied protection, adults are excluded from opportunities, and societies are deprived of the data they need to plan and govern themselves. Dear colleagues, Africa CRVS Day was proclaimed by the African Union in 2018 to raise awareness of the transformative role of civil registration and vital statistics on the African continent. Since then, we have marked this day religiously for the past 7 years, not merely as a ceremony, but as an annual call for action. So we use this day to advocate, to call for action. It's not like a sort of a professional or academic exercise. This is a day which we give opportunities to countries, to partners to actually advocate for action, push for action. We have just heard from the UNICEF director about the status of birth registration across the continent. Building on that, I would like to turn our attention to other vital events like deaths, marriages, and divorces, which are particularly low. We actually need to work on death registration. We need to work on marriage registration because these are part of the 11 vital events. So we actually need to, as we talk about birth registration, we actually need to talk about the other vital events. Today, I want to concentrate on what is digital public infrastructure. So DPI is a critical enabler to accelerate progress towards SDGs by simplifying the flow of service delivery. So DPI is about service delivery. It's about services to our communities. So how do we deliver services across the society, both for the public services and private sector services? So this doesn't just refer to public, but it also refers to private sector and even civil society services. Among the different pillars of DPI, digital ID, or more broadly ID systems, and especially birth certificates, serve as a foundational layer to provide credible information of a person who is accessing the services. In order for digital ID to be reliably used across the society, both for public and private services, and to authenticate the unique identification numbers of both people, it needs to be based on an accurate, trusted, and up-to-date single source of truth, which is civil registration. And that single source of truth should always ring in our minds. As civil CRVS practitioners, we are actually advocating for an accurate single source of truth for an individual. And it can only be given at birth. At birth, that's where that single source emanates from. Though the linkages between CRVS and DPI will mutually benefit both initiatives, there are a number of countries where such interconnectivity is not implementable in a successful way due to lack of political commitment, lack of realization on the importance of such linkages, insufficient coordination with the national governments, and different levels of speed in advancement due to imbalances. And I think I should refer to what the regional director said. We know the problems. So it's now time for us to act. We know all these. We have identified them using evidence. We have done scientific research, which has pointed to some of the factors which I have indicated. So we need now to act on them to actually make sure that every person in Africa is visible. So the journey ahead of us will require unity of purpose. It will require that we listen to the evidence, learn from each other, and act with agents. And I'm a very strong advocate of South-to-South cooperation. People learning from each other. At this stage, we want countries to learn from other countries. Above all, will require that we keep our focus on the people behind the numbers. And without civil registration, there can be no complete legal identity. Without legal identity, there cannot be equitable access to basic benefits of digital transformation. So we are in the digital era, but how does digitalization remain or facilitate equity and equitable access to services? If we leave people out of the CRVS system, we are actually leaving them out of Africa's digital future. Today, I invite all of us, governments, development partners, the UN system, civil society, and the private sector to make the CRVS Day of 2025 a pivotal point. Let us take the commitments we have made on paper and translate them into concrete actions. Let me also affirm that as ECA, together with our African Union compatriots, our partners in the regional CRVS core group, we are reaffirm our readiness to support countries through technical assistance, capacity building, research and advocacy. We will continue to promote the Africa ECRVS shared asset, which we talked about a couple of weeks ago for those who attended that, as a pathway to cost-effective, interoperable, and secure digital CRVS systems for Africa. Let us leave this webinar with the renewed determination to make everyone visible in Africa, to count every life event, and to build the foundations for inclusive, rights-based digital governance. I wish to thank you for attending this webinar on the Africa CRVS Day, and I will wish you a very productive and inspiring session. Thank you. Over to you, facilitator.
Thank you, William. And William, you've made the point, the practical examples actually, and why this is important and how we have all the links. At this point, actually, we now turn to a voice who has shaped the global CRVS agenda from an Africa perspective. Dr. Mills, originally from Ghana, is a global CRVS lead at the World Bank and a physician epidemiologist who spent over 2 decades championing inclusive health and identity system. He's co-led the Global Investment Plan to develop the world's most widely used CRVS e-learning platform. And his work continued to shape the work on foundational system, CRVS foundational system. And interestingly, he has a recognition from the President of Gambia. He was awarded the Commander of the Order of the Republic of Gambia, an honor he accepted on behalf of the World Bank. He joins us today to remind us of investing in CRVS. It's not just smart governance, it is smart economics. Welcome, Sam. Over to you.
Good morning, good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Thanks, Cornelius, for the kind introduction. I also want to thank UNICEF for the invitation to join this webinar. I'll provide an overview of some of the support that the World Bank has provided so far. Sorry, my slide doesn't seem to move. Let me stop sharing and share again. Sorry about that. The slide is not moving.
Sam, would you like Lorna to show the screen just in case it works better for her?
Yes, please.
Okay. Lorna, if you could share the Samuel's PowerPoint, that would be great.
Let me try to share again and see whether it will work this time. It seems to be working now. Sorry for that glitch. So in 2014, the World Bank, together with WHO and several partners, developed the 10-year Global CRVS Scaling Up and Investment Plan. I remember UNECA hosted a stakeholder consultative meeting at this at the time. It was estimated that more than 100 developing countries at that time did not have a functional CRVS system. And it will cost about 3.8 billion to be able to have such a system. In 73 countries, including low and middle income countries in Africa. But since then, we all agree that most countries have made tremendous progress. Previously, countries had separate siloed CRVS systems and identity systems. But more and more, we see countries trying to integrate CRVS systems and legal identity systems. Could you please show your slides? Mine doesn't seem to be moving.
Yes, 1 second.
Please, let me stop sharing. Sorry about that. So one of the perhaps let me continue speaking while the slide comes up. One of the challenges that we identified at the time that we were developing the stakeholder, when we were developing the CRVS scaling up plan, was that most countries did not have educational opportunities on CRVS. Most people were learning CRVS on the job. So we collectively agreed that it was important to develop a CRVS e-learning course. We launched this in 2017, and the course is available in English, French, and Spanish. And over 7,000 people have taken the course in over 150 countries. We recently revised the contents of the modules. There are about 30 modules that covers various topics on CRVS. And we relaunched it in Bangkok in June this year at the Asia and Pacific Ministerial Conference. Although this was led by the World Bank, several other partners also participated. Next slide, please. Several other partners also participated. Next slide, if you can. Yes, these partners also contributed to the development of the CRVS e-learning course. Next slide. William already talked about the DPI, Digital Public Infrastructure. The World Bank in March this year published a seminal paper on DPI, and it presents the World Bank Group framework for understanding and implementing DPI to accelerate safe and inclusive digital transformation. Next slide. So the DPI is an approach to digitalization focused on creating foundational digital building blocks designed for the public benefit. Next slide, please. The World Bank has been supporting countries on identity systems and civil registration systems. And as you can see on the screen, these are about 24 countries that the World Bank has been providing some support. Next slide. A functional digital CRVS system is a foundational system for identity. At birth, with a CRVS system, an individual's biographic information, such as name, sex, date, and place of birth, is recorded. And then a unique identification number is also assigned. And this helps to establish a legal identity at birth. Subsequently, other attributes can be added in the identity system, such as photograph, signature, biometrics, and all these help to ensuring the uniqueness of an individual. The unique identification number that's assigned at birth can be used throughout the life cycle until death. It can be used on your marriage certificate, for your national ID card, what have you. An integrated digital CRVS system and ID system allows access to a wide range of essential services. Next slide. So I will illustrate this with a support that the World Bank provided to the Gambia for a transformative journey of mass registration and health insurance. So over a 7-month period, the Gambia was able to register half of the population or people of all ages and with the issuance of birth certificates and national health insurance card with a unique identification number. Next slide. Prior to 2022, the civil registration process in the Gambia was manual, paper-based. It wasn't electronic at that time. We supported the ministry to establish the electronic civil registration system. But the Gambia employed an innovative approach. In some countries, you have a system that is used for issuing birth certificates and another system for issuing the health insurance card. In the Gambia, the innovative feature was that with an eye towards efficiency, when one comes to a registration center and the biographic information is collected, the same biographic information is used for the issuance of birth certificate and a health insurance card on site. You receive it at the registration center before you go home. So you don't have to go provide your information, go home and come back later. But on site, you receive both the birth certificate and the health insurance card. However, we noticed some limitation of this approach, especially when it comes to the issuance of health insurance card to non-Gambians. Because for non-Gambians, you cannot use the same, but you do not have the biographic information in the system to be able to issue the health insurance card. So last year, the World Bank supported the procurement of a perpetual license identity software. This software has been integrated with the CRVS system, and this will allow the printing of health insurance card for non-Gambians as well. Next slide, please. This same integrated, next slide, please. This same integrated system can be used to produce various cards. If you take, for example, a driver's license, if somebody comes for a driver's license, it's the same biographic information that you have in the integrated system that you need. All you need to do is to take a new photograph and then assign the category of driver's license and then print the driver's license for the individual. If you need a national ID card, the biographic information is already in the system. Your biometrics are taken, and then the national ID card is issued. In some countries, huge resources, for example, is spent on voter registration drives. And with this integrated system, all you need to do is to ensure that you use it. For example, if you already have a national ID card, there's no need for printing a voter registration card. The national ID card should be sufficient to allow you to vote. But in the event that a country wants to have a separate or special voter registration cards, the same integrated system can be used. All you need to do is to take a more recent photograph, and then with the information that is in the system, you print the voter registration card. Next slide. So in short, interoperable CRVS systems and identity systems helps to improve the effectiveness and efficiency in the delivery of essential services, both in the public sector as well as in the private sector. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Sam. Okay, I'm sorry about all the usual technical challenges, but as we have said before, this is a conversation, and Sam, actually, you've already started sparking questions, okay? And please continue, participants, to put questions in the chat. I mean, the famous e-learning course, those of you who have not done the e-learning, this is an opportunity for you to go and do the e-learning course. Mia, can you put the link to the e-learning course on the chat so that people can have access to it? Sam actually bringing the unique ID number, which is every country that I've visited that has done CRVS and ID is now talking about the unique ID numbers and the integration. So Sam, it's really great to hear you bringing the whole ID ecosystem and how it functions and the transformation in Gambia. Then let me move to our next speaker who is going to show another transformation. Our next speaker is a leader at the forefront of Africa's digital identity transformation, Josephine. Madam Josephine, actually everybody knows Josephine and the work that she has been doing. Could we, I'm only seeing myself. Is Josephine there? Right. Okay. She's the Director General of Rwanda. National Identification Agency, has led one of the continent's most advanced reform, digitizing all 9 vital events and embedding CRVS into Rwanda's national digital ecosystem, exactly what Sam was describing. She chairs the African eCRVS Shared Asset, AXA, Advisory Board. She represents Rwanda at the ID for Africa. Her leadership shows that Africa's digital future can be built on secure, inclusive, interoperability identity system. And as Gilles has shown, where there is political will, there'll be the investment. Josephine shows that Africa has the talent and the leadership. I tell you, over to you, Josephine.
Thank you so much, Cornelius. And thank you for this invitation to talk about our advance and our implementation. Dear colleagues here, I think ahead of the CRVS Africa Day on Sunday, happy Africa CRVS Day. In Rwanda, we're going to celebrate it on the 12th because the 10th is Sunday. If I talk about the integrated CRVS and ID system and its role in our inclusive service delivery. So I think we've spoken about it in several meetings, and so our national centralized and integrated CRVS system was launched in 2020. We have all the 9 vital events as per our law on persons and family. They're all digitized. And so we did an assessment, and we found that it was better to move a registration where the event occurs. So we have registration in health facility, and those occurring outside the health facility are done at the cell level. And the cell level is the closest local government entity close to the citizen. So like for proportion, before the registration was done at the sector level, a sector covers more or less 36 villages, while a cell covers 7 to 8 villages. So meaning it's really close to the citizens. When you look at how this CRVS system operates, it is integrated with a population registry, which is integrated with the identity system. This supports in so many forms. On one side, it provides for the health facilities and all the operators across Rwanda, be it at the cell, at the sector, at the health facility, even at our embassies abroad. They are able to just, using the identity number, it auto-populates all the other information, making the registration as smooth as possible and also ensuring the data quality is kept all across. The other one now, we launched it yesterday, actually. We have our pre-enrollment system for the single digital identity. This is a journey that Rwanda has embarked on. And so our single digital identity, as in Rwanda, we issued the identity from 16. So now with a single digital identity, we're going to issue identity from birth. And it will be integrated to the parent's identity until the child turns 16, because we will still issue them the identity. The other brilliant integration, the output that we are seeing already since the official launch was yesterday, but we've started running it since the 29th of July, is that citizens do not need to bring literally anything. They just bring their ID number. We collect their biometric, we confirm against the identity, their photo that we have in our identity card. They verify their information and we collect consent. This pre-enrollment is providing twofold. So one side, yes, you confirm and you correct your information where it's needed. The other, we are actually building a family tree, because this is what we were missing when we were doing our population registry. Yes, CRVS is doing it, but it's recent. It started in 2020. So we need to even move back and ensure that everybody, when we are going with a digital identity and we need the consent of the data subject, we need to have a family tree, because those who are below 18 require a consent from their parents. So we also have, the CRVS is also integrated with our eRainbow e-government portal. In Rwanda, all government services are provided through one single portal, and all the vital events, the records are available on eRainbow, and you can do it from the comfort of your home. eRainbow has now even launched a mobile app version of it, so they can even, they've provided even now the service of even shipping it to whoever you want to send it to. So you do not need to download it anymore. So when you apply, you say the institution you want it to be sent to, it is sent to that institution, and you also keep it in your vault, so that any subsequent application, you don't need to apply for another record, you will just reuse it. The practical innovations that we have in our digital CRVS system. So yes, we've moved the birth in health facilities, and this we've seen since 2020. We've seen really a very fast and complete coverage. For example, in 2023, we saw that 98.5% of births were recorded within 30 days, which was an incredible leap from the 72.3% in 2020. And all the health facilities now are having this registration done seamlessly. Now, on the interoperability, the benefits that we are seeing from this is, for example, for our immunization tracker, now after a baby is born, because we collect the information and the phone number of the parents, now they are reminded by SMS to go and immunize their babies. And it's happening since we have done the integration. So you cannot miss your immunization. And also on the other side, the health facilities have an approximate number of babies that are going to be immunized. We also have integrated with our social registry. It's called the Imibereho, which now helps us tremendously, because every time a newborn baby is born, we automatically add them to the household, and then that child automatically is onboarded into our universal health care. And we also flag in case of death, so that when they're paying for their subsequent year, you do not need to go look for the SEDO, which is our socioeconomic operator, to go and deregister that death or that new event. We are looking now into the integration with our land information system. This is, we really believe that it will be a transformative use of CRVS, where because in LAIS, they manage the land. So we want to automatically inform them, especially when a new couple is formed, if they own property, depending on the matrimonial regime they have, we automatically update their land title. same as divorce and death and any other event that has an impact on property. And we believe this will be really a game changer and also showing really the impact of having an integrated and complete CRVS system, which is sometimes a challenge when you need to justify why you need such heavy investment. Our CRVS system is locally built, so it allows us to look to continuously improve and also come up with these innovations that we are coming up with, because it is a locally developed system which is customized to our needs and the knowledge. Looking at our my role as the chair of the AXA, which is our shared asset. So it was formally introduced in 2023, and it helps us to actually, it is promoting standardization and harmonization tailored to the continental unique needs. And it's really a powerful step toward making CRVS a cornerstone of digital governance and regional integration. So it is not just a technology, it's actually an African-led initiative that promotes shared standards and the interoperable system, as William informed and emphasized on. Really, sharing of experience is what will help us to leapfrog and complete this gap that we have on the continent. So the key component of the AXA's work include the resource package for CRVS digitization. So we've developed a resource package to design, including design principles and IT standards that will guide digitization of CRVS across Africa, ensuring interoperability and cross-country compatibility. The other one is the validation of CRVS solutions, because we are at different pace on the continent. So those who are in the journey of developing, so using this AXA, it will help to develop or customize or correct wherever we see there's a gap. And also for those who have open source, open standard, or in-house built like ours, we can all adhere to those standards that we all agree with. We have workshops in the collaboration, and we also have an advisory board that guide these activities. So now when you look at how to make it happen and justify the reason, because having all this, it requires a lot of investment. We appreciate development partners who have supported us in this journey, but it also has to be an investment by the country. It cannot only be done by a development partner or only the country alone, because it requires, it's a multi-sector, multi budget, that if I may say. So the three efforts on the three areas I would sincerely finish up and advocate on is the investment. CRVS system must be prioritized in national budget. Some countries, yes, have taken the lead, but sustainable funding is still a challenge, especially in this time where budget is really a challenge, and we need to continue and attain the goals that we have. Collaboration, we need to work as a multi-sector activity, including health, justice, local government, identity agencies, private sector as well. If I say, looking at the amount of money we pay for the SMS's notification that we do, we really need to include the private sector in this journey. The last one is the standards. We need to build inclusive and future-ready CRVS system. And if with the CRVS being at the foundation of our DPI, digital public infrastructure, we need to build a system that is inclusive, does not leave anybody behind. It is interoperable. We adhere to data protection and universal access. It has to be free and simplified for everybody. And also, we need to think ahead and look at systems that go beyond the borders, which is one of the goals under AXA standard, so that we ensure that when we are building our systems, we are looking not only just a national system, but a system that can support the integration across the continent and really make all these other initiatives, including AFCFTA and others, be really practicable and be able to be implemented. So by strengthening these three pillars, I believe the CRVS system can become more resilient, inclusive, and central to Africa's digital transformation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Josephine. So much information in such a short time, Josephine. And congratulations again. You always keep pushing the envelope and pushing the boundaries of what can be achieved. Okay. I mean, very clearly, actually, investment, and collaboration around the investment, proximity, and bringing the service closer to the people. Single identities, Sam spoke about it. I know you have the unique identity number, right, of how to bring it, the life cycle, and you're showing how the ecosystems work actually. Again, and it looks showing you're already, if people want to do the investment, showing the return on investment for immunization, health services, land, etc. So thank you very much, Josephine. Now let me move to the last speaker, right? And the last speaker, we move a spotlight to Senegal, where a bold shift is underway. A powerful voice from West Africa's CRVS leadership, Aliou Ousmane Sall. Sall and I used to travel together. And actually, we used to try to find a good seat on the plane because he's quite tall as I am, right? Sall is the director. Sall is the Director General of Senegal's National Civil Status Agency and has led one of the continent's most ambitious transformation. Under his leadership, the Senegal has moved their system towards decentralized, digital, and interoperability systems. They have anchored it in legal reform, coordination, a clear push for inclusive delivery, everything that we've been talking about. Through sectorial protocol, registration has been connected to the key services as well. Aliyu brings deep public sector experience from local government to national planning. His work shows that what's possible when there's political will, which we have repeatedly spoke about. Jill has spoken about it, right? Josephine has demonstrated what we can achieve. Digital innovation, system thinking, all come together. Aliyu, over to you.
Merci Corneille, merci pour les aimables mots. C'est toujours un plaisir de vous retrouver. Si vous me permettrez, je vais partager juste ce que le Sénégal a fait en termes de digitalisation de l'état civil, que peut être un pilier pour la décentralisation, mais surtout pour l'interopérabilité des services au niveau du Sénégal. Allez-y. Voilà, ma communication va être structurée autour de ces 4 points. Juste le contexte dans lequel nous évoluons actuellement, la gouvernance du système mise en place, mais surtout la mise en place du système d'information interopérable et les perspectives pour avoir un système vraiment fonctionnel à la dimension des enjeux attendus. Et voilà, Monsieur William, Corneille William, quelques éléments que je vais partager avec vous. Dans un contexte, c'est vrai, il y avait un changement de régime avec le nouvel référentiel 2050, que tout ce qui est politique publique, mais aussi les orientations du gouvernement en termes de dématérialisation et de modernisation de l'administration, avec le New Deal technologie. Mais surtout, il y a une décision lors du réunion interministérielle sur l'état civil qui permet d'engager les ministres de l'urbanisme et tous les autres ministres en charge de l'identité de travailler pour la mise en place d'un système interopérable entre les différents systèmes, partie prenante du système d'état civil sénégalais. Allez-y. Voilà, au regard des nouvelles orientations, ça c'est quelques orientations, notamment du président, pour la digitalisation des procédures administratives, que ce soit l'état civil et les autres services administratifs, apparaît nécessaire de fixer surtout le cadre juridique de l'utilisation des procédés informatiques dans la gestion de l'état civil. Comme vous le savez, il fallait d'abord réformer les textes pour les arrimer avec les nouveaux enjeux en termes de dématérialisation, mais aussi avec le référentiel où on a bien spécifié la création d'une base de données nationale centralisée et permanente qui sera mise à jour au gré des naissances, des mariages et des décès, mais aussi la digitalisation du registre des personnes, la digitalisation des services au niveau des collectivités. Comme vous savez, le Sénégal est organisé en communes qui sont égales dignité. Donc ça, c'est le maire et officier d'état civil. Allez-y. Là, je fais juste la synthèse de l'organisation du système d'état civil sénégalais à travers l'ANEC qui a une mission de mettre en œuvre les politiques de l'État qui se trouve au niveau du ministère en charge de l'urbanisme et des collectivités territoriales, avec une mission aussi d'informatiser progressivement les centres d'état civil, de former les acteurs, mais aussi de sensibiliser la population. Nous avons aussi parallèlement les communes avec les centres secondaires par rapport à cette volonté de renforcer l'accessibilité d'état civil aux usagers. Nous avons des zones où la population est très loin des communes principales, donc il fallait créer des centres secondaires. Mais aussi, pour l'organisation de l'administration, nous avons la direction des affaires juridiques et consulaires qui gère l'état civil consulaire pour les Sénégalais qui sont à l'étranger. Les différentes administrations travaillent pour permettre à chaque Sénégalais d'avoir une identité légale, accessible, mais surtout sécurisée. Et pour qu'il y ait une organisation fonctionnelle respectant les normes, il y a le ministère de la Justice à travers la direction des affaires civiles et d'ISO, avec les cours et les tribunaux qui ont cette mission en dehors d'accompagner l'État civil, l'agence dans la préparation des lois et décrets. Il y a aussi une mission de contrôle des centres d'état civil. Est-ce que les actes sont bien enregistrés, bien délivrés, les gisements d'autorisation sont bien? Donc, cette machine fonctionne. Maintenant, il fallait aller plus que ça en termes de mise en œuvre pour aller vers la digitalisation intégrale. Allez-y. Allez-y encore, allez-y. Voilà, vous mettez, voilà le système, le schéma des acteurs. Nous avons l'état civil, le système à l'intérieur, l'ANEC et les communes et les postes consulaires. Nous avons le producteur officiel de preuves, c'est-à-dire la santé. Je vais revenir là-dessus par rapport aux outils digitaux que nous avons développés. Et nous avons aussi les utilisateurs des données d'état civil, à savoir la DAF avec, pour les cartes d'identité. Au Sénégal, il y a la direction de l'automatisation des fichiers. Il y a l'ANSD qui gère les statistiques vitales. Il y a l'IPRES, la sécurité sociale, la fonction publique, pour ne citer que ces administrations-là, et l'éducation nationale. Donc, voilà l'organisation schématique des acteurs du système d'état civil sénégalais. Allez-y. Maintenant, pour la digitalisation, nous avons mis en place un programme s'appelé programme NECAL, financé par l'Union européenne à hauteur de euh, 18 milliards de francs CFA. Ce programme a permis de numériser 20 millions d'actes d'état civil. Nous avons d'abord fait la cartographie pour avoir une situation de référence pour voir la volumétrie des registres qui se trouvent dans chaque centre. On a déplacé des équipes qui sont parties dans chaque centre numérisé. Cela veut dire photographier l'acte d'état civil. Et une fois numérisé, nous avons remonté, nous avons mis en place un site, ça s'appelait site d'indexation, où il y avait 300 personnes qui travaillaient à rendre ces informations dynamiques. C'est la photo qui est à droite. Nous avons aussi élaboré des documents de politique de sécurité, parce que l'état civil, d'abord, il faut qu'il y ait la sécurité dans le processus. Nous avons aussi élaboré une stratégie de protection des données à caractère personnel pour permettre de sécuriser ces données des Sénégalais. Et pour la mise en place d'un système fonctionnel, nous avons mis en place le RNEC, le Registre national d'état civil, où on a versé les 20 millions d'actes qui sont centralisés. Et parallèlement, nous avons développé une application de gestion des faits d'état civil avec, dans la gouvernance des sous-comités informatiques dirigés avec le ministère de Haïti, ce qui nous a permis, avec tous les acteurs du système, de développer une application arrimée avec le code de la famille, avec le rôle et responsabilité de chaque acteur qui intervient dans le système. Et une fois l'application éprouvée, nous l'avons déployée aujourd'hui dans 400 centres au Sénégal sur les 600. Ces centres permettent d'enrôler les actes, d'interroger même les actes indexés avec les sites, avec quelques mots-clés, le numéro de l'acte, le nom, prénom et tout, pour retrouver l'acte indexé et finaliser l'acte afin de délivrer. Ça a été fait. Et nous avons aussi équipé les centres. Comme vous le savez, c'était des centres qui n'avaient pas des équipements. Avec l'acte 3 de la décentralisation en 2014, les communautés rurales sont érigées en communes. Donc, il y avait des problèmes d'équipement. On a donné des ordinateurs, des imprimantes, vraiment, et nous avons interconnecté aussi. Il faut qu'il y ait une interconnexion entre les centres pour que le centre A puisse introser un acte de centre B. Ça a été fait. Nous avons formé 1200 agents sur l'utilisation de l'application de gestion des faits d'état civil. Chaque centre, parmi les 400, aussi bien les officiers que les agents d'état civil. Mais avant cela, il fallait d'abord former les gens sur l'état civil. C'est quoi? Comment élaborer un acte? Comment délivrer un acte? Comment conserver un acte? Avec une plateforme d'offre de services, plateforme d'auto-formation que nous avons mis en ligne avec des MOOC, des capsules pour permettre aux officiers et archivistes de voir comment mener à bien leur métier. Ça a permis d'avoir les 2000 agents formés sur l'état civil, les 600 et quelques officiers officiers d'état civil par rapport à leurs prérogatives, mais aussi les 1200 sur l'utilisation de l'outil informatique. Aujourd'hui, nous avons, je vais vous donner les chiffres même. En plus, depuis le déploiement de l'application, les actes qui sont enrôlés avec le numéro que le RNEC délivre. C'est un numéro. Ce n'est plus possible de mettre un numéro, de changer, de voler un numéro. Dès que le RNEC édite un numéro, c'est plus possible de le changer sans passer par la juridiction. Ça permet de sécuriser l'état civil. Allez-y. Voilà quelques centres que nous avons équipés avec le réseau CNM, 235 en service, 1200 agents, je l'ai dit. Nous avons aussi 3 sites distants, des sites où on héberge les données qui font le site principal, le site backup et un autre site pour permettre, avec des serveurs vraiment de dernière génération. Nous avons aussi développé une application de notification des faits d'état civil pour les auxiliaires d'état civil. Cette application va être donnée aux chefs de village et délégués de quartier. Pas plus tard que la semaine passée, on a rencontré les structures du ministère de la Santé en charge des structures de santé pour permettre le déploiement de cette application. C'est une application qui permet, dès qu'il y a événement, naissance ou décès, que l'information soit remontée au niveau du centre d'état civil et que le centre puisse faire la traçabilité pour appeler la personne pour venir finaliser afin d'avoir un acte d'état civil qui n'est délivré que dans un centre d'état civil. Donc, on vise 18 000, 20 000, mais aussi cela est valable pour les chefs de village. Au Sénégal, nous avons les chefs de village et les délégués de quartier et les hommes d'église ou bien qui sont dans les mosquées pour qu'ils font la notification, pour aller vers l'enregistrement universel. Et ça, il y a un numéro, il y a le numéro de téléphone de la personne, il y aura les informations, il y aura même des informations à usage statistique. Et là, on a validé le document la semaine passée, l'outil informatique, mais aussi avec tout ce qu'il y a comme manuel pour non seulement faire les acquisitions, mais aussi former et déployer, comme on l'a fait avec l'application dans les 400 communes. Et chaque outil utilisé ne peut être utilisé que dans la commune périphérique. Mise en place d'une plateforme d'offres de services, au-delà des outils que je viens d'expliquer, qui servent aux utilisateurs qui sont dans l'administration. Maintenant, pour les usagers sénégalais, nous avons développé une plateforme d'offres de services. Cette plateforme permettra à chaque Sénégalais, ou bien quelqu'un qui a un acte d'état civil sénégalais, de faire des demandes en ligne, de recevoir l'acte en ligne, ou bien de passer. Donc, je vais revenir sur ces... Voilà la déclaration enregistrée via le RNEC depuis qu'on a déployé. En 2014, nous avons enregistré les nouveaux déclarants qui ont été faits dans la plateforme, 1112 815 déclarations. En 2025, nous avons 108 000 du 1er janvier jusqu'au 3 juillet. Nous avons enregistré les nouveaux actes. Il y a 108 238 personnes qui sont enregistrées pour juste à titre d'information. Voilà l'image de l'application, un agent qui est en train d'enrôler l'acte. Allez-y. Voilà les outils. Là, c'est le logiciel RNEC, NECAL, qui est déployé dans les communes. Là, c'est quelques outils, comme je l'ai dit. Et ça, c'est le portail web de la plateforme. Et ça, c'est la version mobile. Nous avons aussi développé l'outil en version mobile pour permettre, depuis votre smartphone, de faire des demandes, mais d'abord de passer dans un centre afin d'avoir un code d'accès et qu'on identifie que réellement vous êtes le propriétaire de l'acte d'état civil pour pouvoir faire antérieurement les demandes. Et cela est valable aussi pour l'état civil consulaire. Allez-y. Voilà pour l'application qui est utilisée dans le secteur de la santé. NECAL, les informations notification, c'est le numéro d'identification, la date de naissance, date de notification, heure de notification, information. Voilà, toutes ces informations-là, décédé, si la maman est décédée, si la maman est vivante lors de l'accouchement, toutes ces informations-là sont collectées, mais on peut envoyer, garder en online, offline ou bien online. Il y a la possibilité d'utiliser les deux parce que l'application est utilisée dans des zones aussi sans connectivité. Donc, c'est pour dire que ces outils-là, c'est pour juste, avec smartphone, le chef de village, le délégué de quartier, le personnel de santé, de collecter les informations qu'ils vont envoyer directement à la commune et tableau de bord de l'application que j'ai présentée tout à l'heure. L'agent voit les informations venir. Si la personne ne vient pas, au Sénégal, nous avons 1 an pour l'enregistrement. Si la personne ne vient pas, on l'appelle pour qu'il puisse passer pour faire l'enrôlement. Allez-y. Voilà le processus de digitalisation que nous avons mis en place pour les 3 dernières années. Allez-y, encore, que tout s'affiche. Voilà les usagers. Les centres d'état civil avec les registres. Nous avons numérisé les 20 millions. Nous les avons indexés et mis dans le RNEC avec les 3 sites d'hébergement. Nous avons interconnexion aujourd'hui 400 centres et équipé les centres et mise en place une plateforme d'offres de services que nous allons lancer après la validation du projet de loi. Et pas plus tard que le lundi, nous avons reçu aussi l'autorisation de la Commission de protection de données qui a, à sa session, a validé l'utilisation de tous les outils aussi qui permettent d'aller vite et sécuriser les données à caractère personnel. Allez-y. Voilà le schéma que nous avons dans l'avenir proche utilisé. Le SI de l'ANEC, avec toutes les informations, avec un numéro qui va permettre d'enregistrer, numéro unique qu'on va mettre en place, l'ANSD qui va introser pour faire les états trimestriels et les outils pour la planification, la DAF qui va introser le SI de l'état civil pour l'enrôlement des cartes d'identité, passeport pareil, et le fichier électoral à partir de 18 ans. Vous serez automatiquement enregistré dans le fichier électoral. Les impôts, on travaille avec eux parce que la plateforme, le paiement, c'est en ligne. Quand vous payez, nous avons utilisé l'agrégateur de la Direction générale de la comptabilité publique et du Trésor. Le paiement, dès que vous payez le service de NACT, ça va au niveau des finances qui envoie automatiquement dans le compte de la commune. Donc, aujourd'hui, nous travaillons avec eux. Ils veulent qu'on embarque leurs outils pour les aider aussi pour la collecte des impôts et pour aller vers l'extension de ce que nous sommes en train de faire. La notification électronique des naissances et des décès, l'authentification des actes, vérification en ligne d'identité, ça c'est les opérateurs téléphoniques, tout ce qui est services usagers, les notaires, les permis de conduire, parce qu'il nous arrive de voir des jeunes qui conduisent les poids lourds en faisant des faux, entre guillemets, en faisant des jugements pour changer leur identité. Et aujourd'hui, avec le système, c'est la plus possible. Tu vois quelqu'un qui sait qu'il n'a pas l'âge de 35 ans pour conduire les gros gabarits, un jeune qui a 18 ans, qui fait des faux avec des actes d'état civil, avec les facilitateurs. Donc, ça va permettre de lutter contre tout ça. Et l'autre élément aussi, c'est comme nous sommes au niveau du ministère en charge de l'urbanisme, le ministre voudrait que l'application aussi embarque l'autorisation de construire. Nous sommes en train de travailler sur les spécifications afin de pouvoir embarquer ces différents outils. Allez-y, pour que j'aille vite. Voilà le processus de délivrance des actes aujourd'hui. L'option 1, demander dans le même centre et passer le récupérer. Vous pouvez demander en ligne et passer le récupérer. Demandez adresse à un centre distant, un centre qui est à 500 km de Dakar, par exemple. Vous recevez dans un centre qui est à côté de chez vous. Il y a ici demande en ligne et recevoir le document sécurisé en ligne avec la signature électronique et le QR code. Voilà les trois options que nous avons aujourd'hui développées. Allez-y. Voilà le schéma d'offre de service avec l'ANEC d'une manière schématique, avec le support technique du ministère de l'économie numérique, et les producteurs qui sont à gauche et les utilisateurs, avec le numéro unique que je viens de dire, les étrangers et les numéros des Sénégalais pour permettre de faire la différenciation et permettre aux services de sécurité et de défense de bien aussi utiliser pour les cartes de résidents pour les étrangers. Donc, tout ce processus, nous sommes en train de mettre en place afin de faciliter le travail et l'interopérabilité entre les différentes administrations, santé, état civil, le dossier patient, les questions d'authentification. Toutes ces questions-là sont prises en compte dans les outils que nous avons développés. Allez-y. Voilà quelques perspectives. Validation du projet de loi sur l'informatisation qui est validé par le comité technique. Il reste juste que ça passe en conseil. Et la signature du projet de décret portant reconstitution des services administratifs. Nous avons félicité la procédure, qu'il n'y ait plus cette procédure lourde qui va au niveau national. Maintenant, à partir des administrations déconcentrées, il y aura avec les décrets, ça va faciliter les régularisations. Renforcement des capacités de l'ANEC, finance la stratégie nationale. Ça, c'est avec le NECAL 2 que nous sommes en train de finaliser en maturation pour pouvoir consolider les acquis, mais aussi ce qu'on avait estimé, il reste à numériser 10 millions d'actes avec l'antériorité, le rattrapage à faire, mais aussi la digitalisation intégrale de l'ensemble des centres, parce qu'on a digitalisé 400, il reste 200 centres à digitaliser, et avoir aussi la dématérialisation progressive des archives et conserver suivant les normes. Voilà, chers participants, j'ai été un peu long, mais la synthèse de travail que nous sommes en train de faire comme une contribution au niveau de la modernisation du système d'état civil sénégalais qui peut être partagé. Et voilà, chers participants, avec toutes les parties prenantes du système, ce que nous avons fait jusque-là, et le travail se poursuit avec la consultation des équipes support. Merci pour votre aimable attention tout en restant attentif à des questions, bien des contributions qui peuvent aider dans le travail que nous sommes en train de faire. Merci.
Merci, merci, Ali. Merci. Congratulations. And, as Josephine has said, and there's a lot of lessons. We need to share this experience. People need to hear about how you have embedded this into the legal frameworks, the policy, you've done the proximity, bringing it closer. As Jilsa said, we have the evidence. You and Josephine have shown we have the evidence, we have the solutions for transformation, right? Now, we're going to move on. Sam, actually, in terms of the question and answers, we've actually run out of time. But Sam, there were a couple of questions for World Bank. Do you want to cover those two questions? Do you want me to read out the questions?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think the question from Michael from South Sudan is whether the World Bank can provide some technical support to South Sudan, particularly in areas of digital registration, interoperability, and institutional capacity building. The answer is yes. We'll be happy to provide support. We can discuss offline how we can take this forward. And Joshua, also from Ghana, also asked why Ghana is not found in the list of the 24 countries. Does it mean that Ghana has a good CRVS system? The answer is yes. Ghana already has a good CRVS system. But on a more serious note, from the bank side, once we receive a request from countries, we then initiate the dialogue and then we see how best we can provide support. We have our contact information. You can always reach out. We'll be happy to support countries, and that is our goal. Thank you. Over to Cornelius. We'll be happy to answer any questions that may come up. Thank you.
There's also a question for you, Josephine. Did you see the question, Josephine, or do you want me to read it out?
No. Yes, thank you. I can see it. So I think actually it might be from a colleague in Rwanda because yes, we always cap at 95% of birth and we want to get to the universal one. And we found that some of them are those occurring in communities. So it is just actually to ask the community here if there's somebody who has some innovative methods. For the death, we are looking at how to do notification by the head of villages. It will be a USSD code that they will be sending information about death so that we can be able to pass it on to the cell executive secretaries to do the registration. But yeah, so we still have a few challenges here and there where even if it is taken to the cell level, but some are still not attending at 100%.
Thank you, Josephine. Are there any other questions, colleagues? I think that's it. We're running out of time. I want to take this opportunity to thank all the speakers, right? But let me move on to the launch of the synthesis report. Before we close, I'm pleased to hand over to Soraya Hassan, UNICEF's Regional Evaluation Advisor for West and Central Africa, to launch a new report that brings the insights and innovations we heard Jill speaking about today. Okay, of course, Soraya has a strong track record in turning data into directions and strategy. So the report is titled Every Child Counts, Civil Registration as a Foundation for Legal Identity and Digital Public Infrastructure. It captures lessons from country experience and continental efforts, guiding how we move from fragmented incentives to fully integrated civil registration system. Right, and there is also a blog that we would add a link to as well. So over to you, Soraya.
Thank you very much, Cornelius. Thank you very much. I would like to say warm greetings to all participants, all protocol observed. Of course, it's a great pleasure for me, to participate to this important webinar. And for this particular, for the Africa CRVS Day. And in a nutshell, of course, I would like, as we have the chance to launch, this important policy note, I would like to share with the audience in 5, I would say, key points from the new UNICEF policy paper which offers synthetic but also compelling vision for achieving universal birth registration across the continent. I would like to say as well that this is not just about a document, it's about, a roadmap for action built on a foundation of collaboration, innovation, but also evidence. So the first point will be is about a unified effort for Africa children, and the policy paper is the result of truly collaborative process between UNICEF 3 regional offices, including and involving also the country offices, Southern Africa, ESARO, the West and Central Africa, but also the Middle East, North Africa. And it reflects, and this is important, a unified agenda to support the governments in strengthening the CRVS system with a specific focus on birth registration. So this joint work, analytical work, also demonstrates that by integrating evaluation evidence into child protection policy thinking and vice versa, we can really produce actionable, credible, but also policy relevant knowledge that can, that will support decision-making process. Secondly, it's of course, the paper is based not on theory, but it's grounded on evidence from 16 UNICEF-supported evaluation conducted across Africa. So it is really synthesizing a very large and complex body of information, and therefore harnessing the power of advanced AI, artificial intelligence tools. So beyond the what, our analysis, of course, focuses on the how, examining the real-world implementation of the strategies we all agree are essential. And these strategies are, of course, the interoperability, decentralization, and this digitalization. And these strategies are definitely the core strategy for strengthening the CRVS system. And like that has, maybe to all of us remind, the audience, and that this is a backbone of inclusive governance and enabling that each individual to be counted and serve. So it's about much more about delivering public services in efficient manner, but also to ensure that no one is left behind, and also foster the real-time accountability. So something very important. So therefore, the real question is not whether these strategies work, but how they can really work in practice. And in these circumstances, and the paper is also highlighting concrete example where we see, for instance, where progress has been made and identified recurring obstacles. So that's very important, such as, for instance, fragmented systems, the lack of clarity of legal mandates, and or on overlap sometimes, insufficient awareness, and their investment in, I will say, capacity building, and in particular in local capacity. That's continue, of course, to remain an obstacle for scale and equity. And the policy paper also is highlighting something very important, good practices. We were talking about South-South collaboration that are critical enablers for effectively implementing accelerator strategy and strengthening effectiveness of CRVS system. So these good practices are also offering our area of learning, but also South-South collaboration. So this is very important. Among them, we can, for instance, we have been discussing about that, formalized interministerial coordination body, multi-sector, holder community engagement, capacity building, and technical strengthening. We are talking about digital public infrastructure, but also local empowerment. So the investment in the decentralization, I will say, structure. So our finding reveal as well, this is I will say this is important, that the effectiveness of this strategy are profoundly shaped by the context. So there is no one size fits all solution. The same strategy can produce different results, different outcomes depending on political leadership, legal framework, and local social norm and local capacity. So the paper also is a really wealth of research, of information, and repeatedly emphasizing the need for flexible, adaptive approaches in order to be able really to respond to the local realities and marginalization risk. So we have seen that while progress has been made, this is something quite obvious, this has been also presented earlier, we need to move beyond the localized, and we need to really program at scale. And so and also program and create a long-lasting change. So finally, the paper is also contributing, to accelerating, the universal birth registration, and it's a call in itself, a call to action for sustainable change. And in this area, it's important, especially that we need really to program to learn from the implementation and various program and intervention targeting CRVS, and in particular birth registration. And it's recommending sustainable high-level political commitment, a reliable domestic financing, and better coordination among different stakeholders within the country, but also between governments, partners, but also donors. So the goal is to move beyond fragmentation on short-term efforts. And finally, I will maybe finish like here, is that we need also to also learn. And this very important paper is also a demonstration that we need to really build on evidence in this particular case, that what worked and what didn't work. So it's important also to systematically, utilize the learning insight coming from the evaluation and the national data to guide this transition, to learn fast, to learn from each other, South-South collaboration, and to accelerate result and hold, accountable the system for sustainable result. So time is, I will finish, dear Cornelius, to saying, of course, time is now to act. On the paper is available, and you can utilize, the QR code. And I would like to thank you very much for your time. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Soraya. Virtually, Soraya, it's good that you come in as the last speaker talking about the evidence, because what you have said, okay, has captured everything from Gilles, who started, right? Talking about there's evidence, we just need the investment, there's solutions, right? We had actually William on his practical examples. So we don't just look at these workers, I've seen them who are entering data and the ecosystem, the ID ecosystem. Some Mills about the capacity building, the ID ecosystem, the unique ID, the life cycle approach. Josephine showing the transformation. Some Mills showed the transformation in Gambia. Josephine showed the transformation in Rwanda. Aliu just shows us this transformation in Senegal. And you are saying you have collected the evidence, right? There is one question that's coming from South Sudan. We don't want to ignore it. Okay, some of the response that the question, how we would have answered the question, but we've run out of time. It's there in the reports that Soraya has spoken about. So CRVS is not a legacy system. It's a sovereign infrastructure. It's where Africa digital and developmental futures converge. We have shown that by Senegal. We've shown that by Rwanda. Sam Mills has spoken about it. Okay, the regional director, Gilles, has spoken about it. Let this CRVS Day, as you officially mark it on Sunday, or as Josephine have said, if you're marking it a few days after, remind us that legal identity begins with civil registration, and Africa's digital future must begin with inclusion, which everybody has anchored and echoed, right? Thank you very much, colleagues, and I declare that this webinar is closed. Thank you all. And please, the blog and the webpage of the webinar will have the reports, the blog, okay, and all the PowerPoint. Thank you very much.